Hello everyone, welcome to Change Lives. It's good to be with you again to share the stories of people whose lives have been changed by meeting Jesus. We shared our own stories, we shared someone else's story. Last week we were privileged to have a visitor with us who shared her story. And this week Keith is going to read you a story of a gentleman that we've known for nearly 20 years now, whose life was radically changed by meeting Jesus Christ. Thank you, Keith.
Well, thank you, Pauline. Well, it's called When I'm Sailing. I left Newlyn Harbour, that was in Cornwall. I left Newlyn Harbour in 1990 in a 26-foot wooden yacht to sail single-handed to the Caribbean. This was a combination of 7 years planning, hard work and saving. I had saved the money to buy the boat and financed the trip. During this time I can remember feeling as if there was something missing in my life. I used alcohol and drugs to fill the gap. Before I left, I'd sold everything I didn't need to finance the trip, and so as I sailed away from England with everything I owned aboard my boat, I felt wonderfully free and self-contained. I was 33 years old and had had a normal sort of upbringing, which included Sunday school, Cubs, Scouts, church parades and RE lessons at school. But I was never aware in those 33 years that anyone had told me about Jesus. In the Canary Islands, I met an Irishman called Emmett. He was a reformed alcoholic. He had a wonderful, peaceful, satisfied attitude to life. I didn't discuss it with him, but noticed that he had a Bible beside his bunk. I think that was the spark that lit the fire. Months later, I arrived at St. Lucia in the West Indies. Marijuana was plentiful and easily available. I spent several months in the Windward Islands smoking a lot of marijuana and mixing with the local Rastafarians. The Rastafarians told me that it said in the Bible that it was right to smoke marijuana. I was intrigued by this, so I went out and bought a Bible. I started to read it daily, but in a seeking type of way, but in an intellectual, arrogant way. From the Windward Islands I sailed to Venezuela. Venezuela has some of the nicest people you could wish to meet, but also some of the most evil. I made the mistake of befriending some evil people. They seemed to offer the sort of lifestyle I was seeking. They stayed on my boat for 18 days, refusing to leave. Finally, they made me sail to one of the off islands, where they robbed me and left. I felt so angry that for the first time I prayed, Lord, please take this anger from me. I felt it leave me, and peace took its place. I was disgusted with the way I behaved. I had the problem of replacing the things that had been stolen, and I became very ill. My elbow and knees swelled up. I felt dreadful and could hardly move. I was still reading the Bible, but now it really began to speak to me. One evening I prayed, Lord, please take over my life. I can't do it by myself. I need you to lead me your way. After praying this prayer, I knew I was different. I regained my health. I had no intention of giving up smoking marijuana or drinking. There was just no one around to tell me to stop. But I just did it. I was truly born again. I knew it. I left the Caribbean, went through the Panama Canal and crossed the Pacific, arriving in New Zealand 18 months later. In all this time, I had never spoken to another English-speaking Christian. I never forgot the feeling of panic. I felt as I walked into the Salvation Army Church in Whangaria, as I thought, what if it isn't true? What if I've got it all wrong? What if this peace I've got is not what it's all about? It was reassuring to hear a human voice tell me that which I had found was the same Jesus as they had met with and found for themselves. It never ceases to fill me with awe to think that God chose me and that he spoke to me so clearly through the word, and I was able to follow him.
That is an amazing story.
Absolutely amazing, yes.
But we know this person and we can testify that God has changed his life. God has met with him and made him a new person in Christ Jesus. And that's available for all of us.
Yes.
And that's why we want to share with you Change Lives. God bless you, and we look forward to seeing you with another story next week.
God bless you, and thank you very much for listening.